there is a unique opportunity here for the Caspian countries to really be the, if you like, and it's slightly to misquote the concept, but the swing gas producers, supplying both east and west. But that's going to require some really quite clear-sighted strategic decision-making, both within the region and with partners. And the three guys here are a clear example of how that's already beginning to bear fruit and take shape on the ground.
Southern Gas Corridor. I love the quote from the Prague 2009 conference where it was described as a modern Silk Road, I think by the Commission and by some of the participant countries. I don't know about that, but it's clearly, looking at it from a European point of view, from the demand side, a massive opportunity. Lord Howell this morning talked about the trilemma that natural gas could help solve, namely affordable energy, secure energy, and energy that respects the planet and has an environmental or less environmental harm. And clearly gas with half the emissions of coal, hopefully with security of supply, which is one of the things we're discussing here at this conference. Affordable, yes, in some places, even though, of course, as Lord Howell said, there are different prices around the world still. It's more affordable in the US than it is in Europe, but in Europe it's twice as affordable as it is in Asia. So it's still horses for courses to a certain extent. Europe, so I firmly believe that gas has a big role to play for Europe, and we've been discussing clearly what a big role it has to play for the producing countries in the Caspian as well. Europe is not blessed with the shale opportunities that the United States has, North America has. That's not to say that there won't be developments of shale gas in Europe. Of course, that there will be in certain places, but just the combination of the geology, the mineral rights issues, and indeed the population density of Europe means that there will be less shale development than we're seeing in the United States. And if you combine that with a gradual diminution of indigenous supply in Europe, the North Sea has a very healthy life ahead of it, for example, but it's clearly not going to be producing what it has been producing in the past, but it'll probably be producing much longer than we all think. So that really means that imports of some shape or form, whether it's from Russia in the form of LNG or indeed in the form of other pipeline gas, which is what we're discussing here, it means that those imports are going to have to play a very important role. And it does mean that Europe by 2030, 2035 will be exporting in excess of 50% of its needs. But I think given the diversity of countries and the diversity of sources, personally I don't think that's something that should trouble policymakers in Europe unduly. And the particular demand growth in Europe is going to be around the southern part of the continent, and I include Turkey in that equation. So there is going to be even more need for gas in southeastern Europe than there is in other parts of the country. So
I think one of the most important points, and I think, John, you mentioned this in terms of pipelines, was the fact that you got a gas sales agreements worth in excess of $100 billion over a period of 25 years, and that very much underwrote the whole principle of establishing the Southern Gas Corridor, so the South Caucasus pipeline expansion, Trans-Anatolian pipeline construction, and the TAP, the Trans-Adriatic pipeline. I think those are very, very key moments, plus the respective final investment decisions of both TAP and the other projects. So some important commercial decisions have already been made. We've seen the regulatory landscape having been approved, and we heard earlier today of some firsts. This will be the first gas that will be exported from Azerbaijan into European markets. Our third-party access exemption for the TAP pipeline project was the first ever committed under the third energy package. So we've learned a lot as we've actually developed this project. And we've also had to ensure that there is a proper and coherent legal framework. Peter spoke about the cooperation. That was very much one of my points as well. And we heard Minister Natik Aliyev as well speak about that sort of public and private sector partnership. And I think that's been critical. TAP's investors would never have put any money into TAP without having a host government agreement, without having an intergovernmental agreement in place. So those things underpin, again, the investments that we've had. But that was also done in Turkey, that was also done in Azerbaijan, and it was done in Georgia. So all the governments very much played their part and actually make it then attractive, in terms of an opportunity for investors to then come in.
We have had a long experience and a very good working relationship with Azerbaijan, and we continue to work in Azeri offshore, and also there are projects in Azeri onshore. We are. That has been our sort of cradle of our international expansion at some point. So Lukoil enjoys very good relationships across the region, and we are working in a number, pretty much in all of the sub-Caspian countries, except for Turkmenistan right now, and obviously Iran for obvious reasons.